जय राधा माधव सुंदर बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya, Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining the Sunday feast. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. No problem. Okay. So we'll recite the Mangalacharan prayers. Mangalacharan means auspicious prayers. You know, when we start anything new, we pray, right? Oh, may this work, what I'm doing, may be auspicious, may be conducted properly. So we recite a series of few prayers to invoke auspiciousness. That's called Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubha Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Mitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'm speaking something on Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll recite the Mangalacharan for Srimad Bhagavatam. Just if you know, please recite with me, or can just hear. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayo Mudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah Shinmatha Sokatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanam Kritantastu Avadrani Vidunoti Suratsatam Katasha Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you coming from Vancouver. Thank you so much. So today I'll be speaking something on hearing. So hearing is one of the 9 processes of devotional service. So when we do devotional service or service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the different ways in which we can perform, right? We say a variety is the spice of life. So some people may have inclination to hear more, some may have inclination to something else. So I list out the 9 processes of devotional service, and then we'll speak on one aspect of the 9. So it's Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Mandiram, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. The 9 things. The Shravanam is first is hearing. Kirtanam means speaking, glorifying, singing, right? That's Kirtanam. Smaranam means remembering the Lord. Right? It's not the third one. Pada Sevanam, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, or using your feet to travel the places of pilgrimage, the holy places of the Lord. That's Pada Sevanam. Archana means often doing deity worship. We have the beautiful deities of Shri Nitai Sachinandan. So doing deity worship and serving them in the deity form is Archana. Mandiram means offering praise to the Supreme Lord. It can be in any form, right? We have the prayers in our scriptures, or some devotees out of their affection, we can recite the prayers in your local language, in English, or any language which you can think of, right? With heartful prayers, with devotion. There's Vandanam. Vishwasvanam, Padsevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. Serving the Lord with the mood of being a servant. Right? So one of the prime examples, or the best example, is Lord Hanuman, who served Lord Ram. Right? Dasyam, Sakhyam, or reciprocating the Lord with the Lord, or serving the Lord in the mood of friendship. We have Arjun in the Bhagavad Gita, in Mahabharata, who served the Lord in the form of friendship. So the Lord is so wonderful that he can reciprocate with different people in different ways. Right? We may have family, we have friends. We can only so much, we can do only so much. We cannot reciprocate with everyone in all different ways. We have some limited capacity. We can reciprocate with everyone with every other. Some people may want to be with in some particular mood, some may want different mood. Right? So we are limited. Our capacity to reciprocate with them in different moods is limited. But Lord is not like that. He can reciprocate simultaneously in different ways with different people. Right? So with Sakya. And Atma Nivedam is surrendering totally to the Lord. The example is Bali Maharaj. So there are 9 different ways in which we can do devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. So we'll talk about the first aspect today, is Shravanam. How can we do devotional service? How can we please the Supreme Lord just by hearing? And what are the effects of hearing? You can say, oh, just by hearing about God, how does that help? What is the effect of doing that? We always, when we do something, we expect, how is it going to help me? What will have impact on me? We want some return, or we want some tangible change, right? That's why we almost do everything, right? So how does hearing affect my life? What will be the change be cause in me just by hearing, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So before all that aspect, let's go to the basics, right? How can we develop the urge to hear? Is there a way because of which I can develop the intensity to hear about Krishna? How can we do that? So Srimad Bhagavatam talks about a very beautiful verse. This is one of my favorite verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'll just recite the verse, and then I will recite the translation of the verse. It goes like this. Shushrusho Shaddadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Pundatirtha Nishevanat. It means, oh, twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such great service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So, what is the best way to develop the urge to hear about Krishna? Is by serving pure devotees. When you serve the devotees become very compassionate. It's not that because you serve them, they're compassionate, because the devotees are so compassionate that they don't need any cause to display the compassion. Right? It's called as causeless mercy. Yes, last week, Prabhu Jason was talking about causeless mercy. The mercy is causeless. It's cause and effect. Right? Their mercy, even if you don't do anything, they still give mercy to you, because they're not dependent on the cause of them serving you to show their mercy. It's causeless. But by serving, it's for our own good. So when we serve the pure devotees, we're not doing service to them. Not, hey, I'm doing service to you, you better give me mercy. No, it's not that way. It's for our purification. Right? When we serve devotees, Krishna becomes happy. Krishna becomes more happy when we serve his devotees than serving directly. So Prabhupada in this purport, sorry, Prabhupada in the purport of this particular verse, very beautifully says, the Lord declares in Bhagavad Gita 18.69 that no one is dear to him than one who risks everything to preach his glory. 18.69. Krishna says, no one is more dear to me. Anyone who recites or declares or who spreads his message of Bhagavad Gita is more dear to me than anything. Yeah, let's wait for them to. Did you get that verse? Get the verse? Okay. So can you say translation? Would like to read the translation?
There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear.
Perfect, right? So Krishna loves his devotees, right? And when he preaches messages, right? So let's say you're preaching Krishna's message, right? So Krishna loves you because you're preaching his message. And when he serve you, Krishna will become very happy. So, for example, there's a parent and there's a child, right? Who do you think? When do you think the parent will be more happy? When you serve the child, or the parent and forget the child? The child, wow, thank you so much. Become very happy, naturally very happy. So when you serve the devotees of Krishna, Krishna becomes very happy. Don't really serve me, don't worry. Don't worry about me. When you serve my devotees, I'm more than happy. Right? So when we serve the pure devotees of Krishna, Krishna is very happy and he bestows mercy. And don't worry about it. And all mercy, all everything will be given to you because you serve my devotee. Now there are different conditions. We cannot serve the devotee with an ulterior motive in the mind. It has to be without any motivation, interruption, or ulterior motive. Oh, if I serve, I'll get something. No, that is a very like a business approach. Sorry, yeah.
So, like, what if you're trying to serve them to seek the love of Krishna without an alternative?
So when you serve Krishna, without even having intention of serving, they will give mercy. You don't have to desire even. I just want to serve without any reservation, without any expectation. I just want to serve. That's it. But devotees, as I mentioned, devotees are so merciful, without even you asking for it or even thinking for it, they will give by default. You need to think about it. Because it has to be, pure. When we expect something, there's some tinge of impurity because we desire something. When you do something with expecting something, that's not so pure. There's some tinge. So when we do something, when we perform any service without expecting anything, right? Krishna becomes very happy. Okay, you're not doing this for expecting something. That is the best. So we'll get more mercy. Krishna gets more mercy, right? So Krishna Prabhupada says in this particular purport, the eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. Not in this purport, in Srimad Bhagavatam verse. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. Because Shravan, so we don't see Krishna with our eyes. We see Krishna through our ears. What qualification do we have? If you go to the White House, I want to see the president of the US. Will anyone allow you to see the president of the US? Oh yeah, you want to see? Please come in. They won't allow you. We don't have the qualification to see the president of the US of this one country when we want. So on what basis can we demand to see Krishna? Hey, if God comes in front of me, then I will believe there is God. No. The first step is to hear, and the hearing purifies. So I'll talk about the effects of hearing. We will talk about that. Right? So what does Srimad Bhagavatam? So we talked about how can we develop the urge to hear about Krishna. So now let's see what does Srimad Bhagavatam say about people who have not heard or who does not have the urge to hear about Krishna. What does Srimad Bhagavatam say about them? Right? So I'll just say the verse. Bile buturu krama vikramye na shanmata karnaput dharasya jivva sati dardurike vasuda na chopagayati urugaya gatha. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. What does it mean? He's saying those who have not heard or doesn't have the urge to hear about Krishna, their ears are like the holes fit for snakes to live. Snakes live in holes, right? But ears are like holes in which snakes are fit to live. Basically useless. We are not using our ears properly. Our tongue is like tongue of a frog. So when the frog croaks, makes sound, is basically inviting death. Is basically telling the snake, I am here, and snake will come and devour us, devour the frog. Basically revealing his location, right? So what is this particular verse saying? For example, if an iPhone, right? What is the use of iPhone? To see messages, to open, calls, something like that. That's the basic use. But what if I use the iPhone to break a nut? Do you think it's the best use of the iPhone? You may be able to crack once, twice. If you keep on doing it, iPhone is going to break. It's going to be useless, right? So we have to use the iPhone for its intended purpose. So when we use our ears and tongue, not for the intended purpose, we're basically breaking or not using our tongue and ear properly. So we hear about Krishna, speak about Krishna. Simple as that. Right? So we have to use our ear to hear about Krishna, and we have to use our tongue to speak about Krishna and eat Krishna. That's the proper use of our ears and tongue. Right? So Bhagavatam is saying those who don't have the urge or have not heard about Krishna, their ears are like the holes in which snakes are fit to live, and the tongue is like the croaking of the frog, basically inviting death sooner. Right? Because if you speak keeping mundane things, death will come on the body. Right? Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam, ya samsare bahu dustare kripaya pare pahi murare. Shankaracharya says, we give punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. We keep going in circles of birth and death. If we keep using our tongue, not speak about Krishna. Is this clear? Okay. Now, let's see on the verse why to hear about Krishna. This is spoken by Lord Brahma himself, the grandfather, the creator or secondary creator of this universe. Lord Brahma is speaking to the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he got the darshan. All right. The translation goes like this: Oh my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears. Remember I told you to see Krishna not by eyes, by ears. Lord Brahma is speaking right here. How to see Krishna? Oh my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed. And you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. So what is the main thing in which Brahma is saying? Brahma is saying, how do you see Krishna? Through ears. Okay, so do I just go to any person who is speaking about Krishna and then hear from them? Is that we should be doing? No. Saying here, by process of bona fide hearing, we should not hear from anyone who's speaking about Krishna, because They may talk about Krishna. So even Mayavadis, right, impersonalist, they talk about Krishna. They talk a lot about Krishna. But when you understand the way they talk about Krishna, they use Krishna as a stepping stone to go towards the impersonal, Brahma Jyoti. Okay? They don't consider Krishna as Bhagavan, the Bhagavan, the three levels of realization, the topmost. Krishna's body is not like us, our body. Krishna's body is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. Our body is like Asat, Achit, and Nirananda. It's exact opposite of Krishna's body, but they consider Krishna's body as like ours, just a highly elevated person. That's it. And they use Krishna's head like a stepping stone to go towards the impersonal aspect, right? So we should not hear from any person who just speaks about Krishna. It has to be bona fide authority. So we may think, who is the bona fide authority here right now? How do we know? So that person who speaks about Krishna has to come in a proper disciplic succession. Evam parampara praptam. Parampara should come in disciplic succession. So if you decide, let's say, okay, I think this person, I would like to hear from this person. He speaks very nicely. So we have to do our homework. Okay, does this person come in a sampradaya? Who is his guru? Okay, that person. Okay, who is his guru? You try to trace back the lineage of the person, of the spiritual master lineage. Does it go back to Krishna? Perfect. You can hear from them absolutely without any issues. But the spiritual master, and at one point, I just became spiritual master myself. I taught myself, I learned myself, and speaking about Krishna myself. Problematic. That's not the right way. So Lord Brahma is saying bona fide hearing. So for us, it's none other than Srila Prabhupada. The person sitting, we have the deity of Srila Prabhupada right there on your left side. He comes in disciplic succession. Now, if you want to see, okay, how do we know this person is coming in disciplic succession? If you open the last page of the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, you will see the entire disciplic succession. Now you can, okay, spiritual masters Bhakti Sasai Thakur, Gaur Kushata Babaji Maharaj, Jagannath Babaji Maharaj, right? Bhakti Thakur, Jagannath Babaji Maharaj, then Vishnu Chakri Thakur. If you go, you will see the entire list going back to Krishna. The last page of the introduction of Bhagavad Gita will give you the lineage. So we are now hearing from Srila Prabhupada, who comes in the parampara. So we are bona fide, in sense, hearing from a bona fide authority. Okay, and what happens when we hear, and that should be bona fide authority, our hearts become cleansed. Cheto darpana marjanam. Heart becomes cleansed. So if I invite you to my home, and I keep the entire place dirty, would you like? Okay, it's very messy, dirty. You won't feel sitting there or be there, right? It's very dirty. But if you make the place very clean, spick and span, you say, wow, nice house. Let's see. So our heart is full of dirt right now. Lust, anger, greed, so many anarthas. Right? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, all different anarthas, all different impurities are in our heart. So Krishna is, how can we invite Krishna in this heart? Krishna, please manifest yourself in my heart. We can invite Krishna, right? So, to the person of bona fide hearing, our hearts become cleansed. We may not have a physiological connection between ear and the heart. You won't find a connection between ear and the heart, but there's a spiritual connection between the ear and the heart. The spiritual connection which doctors may not find. They won't be able to find. But the spiritual connection, just by hearing from bona fide authority, the heart becomes cleansed. And then when it becomes cleansed, Krishna becomes established, or we can see the presence of Krishna in the heart. That means our heart became pure. Right? Now the different, we'll say, different effects or results. How can we understand hearts become cleansed? That's a different topic altogether. Right? We can talk about that later. Right? So since we have done our basics, now we have half an hour. I'll try to go in brief about the effects of Krishna Katha. Okay. The first effect of Krishna Katha is attraction towards Krishna. Just by hearing Krishna, about Krishna, we can get attracted towards Krishna. Attraction towards Krishna is a big thing. It's not easy as it sounds. It's not easy as it sounds. But that difficult process becomes very simple just by hearing. How difficult is to hear? Hearing is not difficult, but we have to hear. That is the problem, right? See, urge to hear is difficult to develop, and we can do by serving pure devotees. But we start hearing, attention to Krishna develops. What is the best example we can think of? Just by hearing, we can develop attraction towards Krishna. Any examples come into mind? Very, very wonderful example. Sorry? Okay, I'm saying any example, any person, any personality which you can think of who develop attraction towards Krishna just by hearing. Yes. Maybe more. Any other example? Kushmar, yes. Get in perfection. Sorry. And so I'm talking about just what about hearing. So the other hand is a different category altogether. But I'm saying just by hearing about Krishna. One example, the best example is Mother Rukmini. Do you know Mother Rukmini? Rukmini is one of the first queens of Krishna, one of the principal queens of Krishna. So Krishna has different pastimes. So Krishna, in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first 43 chapters are the pastimes in Vrindavan and Mathura. The next, I think, most of the chapters, I think almost all entire chapter is in Dwarka. Right? So Dwarka is where the opulence of Krishna is fully manifest. Krishna is a king. It's called Dwarkadish. One of the principal queens of Krishna, the first queen of Krishna is Mother Rukmini. Now, how did Mother Rukmini, how did they get married? Okay. That is a pastime. It comes, I think, in the right after Krishna leaves Mathura. He goes to Dwarka, right after 44th or 45th chapter of 10th canto. Right? So, what happens? Mother Rukmini just kept hearing about Krishna. How? So, she was the princess of Vidarbha, right now present day in Maharashtra in India. Right? And Krishna was in Dwarka in Gujarat. They say it's a bit of distance. Right? So, there used to be merchants traveling from Dwarka to Vidarbha, back and forth, back and forth. And the merchants, they used to keep talking about Krishna. Oh, Krishna is like this, Krishna is like that. We did so many wonderful things. This, that. They used to just keep glorifying Krishna's name, Nama, Rupa, and Guna. Name, form, and qualities. These they used to keep describing, glorifying Krishna. And Mother Rukmini used to hear all this. And she got, wow, such a wonderful person. And she grew up in that way. And what happened? She was of a marriageable age, and she had decided by her parents that okay, she would marry, or should marry this person called Shishupal. Now she did not like this Shishupal person. He was an extremely atheistic person who had envy and hatred towards Krishna. Did not like Krishna at all. Right? Shishirtai Chande Bhagwan ki jai, Lakshmi Singh Bhagwan ki jai, Devi ki jai. So she did not like Shishupal at all. She didn't want to marry Shishupal. So what did she do? Right? What did she do? She sent a Brahmana, and she wrote a love letter. She wrote a love letter to Krishna and said, you take this and please give it to Krishna as quickly as possible. And I'll just recite the first verse of the love letter. Shutva gunam bhuvana sundara shinvatante nirvishya karna vivare harato angatapam rupam disham dishimatam akhilartha labham tvai achyuta vishati chitam apatrapam me. He says, what is he saying? Shutva gunan. I have heard about your guna, qualities, wonderful qualities. And Bhuvana Sundara, you are the most beautiful person in all the three worlds. No one is as beautiful as you. It's love letter. She's expressing her love towards Krishna. Remember Vandanam? I talked about Vandanam, prayers. She's like glorifying Krishna. Shutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara. Oh, you are the most beautiful of all the three worlds. Right? And she's, I have heard, Shimbata, I have heard Nirvishesha Karna Vivare. I have heard these glories through my ears. Right? She's saying, hopefully you can make you can understand why I'm saying this. She just heard about Krishna. She hadn't seen Krishna at all. Just heard about Krishna. And says, because of hearing about you, just by hearing, what happened? Harato Angatapam. Harato means snatched, taken away. Angatapam, this miseries of my body, these miseries of this world is just completely eradicated. Totally. By what? Just by hearing about you. So I'm going to read translation. Mother Rukmini said in her letter, O beauty of the worlds, having heard your qualities, which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna. Rukmini is saying, just by hearing about your glories, all the distresses of the body have been removed. Harato Angatapam. What is this Angatapam we're talking about? Tapa means heat, friction. So we have desires to fulfill, right? Oh, I want this, I want that, I want this. We want so many things, right? And how to traverse through the world, how to gain happiness in this world through achievements, through acquiring assets, so many things we want. So we are going this way. And what is material nature doing? Oh, you want this? Not so easy. She is counteracting. So there's a friction between our desires and the counter action of material nature, of Prakriti. You know what I'm saying? So when there's friction, what happens? Is heat generated, right? And this is called Angatapam, because we want something, we want many things. And material nature says, no, not so easy, right? So she pushes back, right? And this friction is called Angatapam, the heat generated by this friction. And how to get rid of this friction? Just by Shutva Gunan, Bhuvana Sundar Angatapam. Just by hearing about Krishna, that itself is enough to remove the miseries of the body. Right? That's Mother Rukmini. Right? So desire of living being is to be happy in a material and a selfish manner. And material energy repeatedly counteracts. Right? And this creates friction in the heart. That heat is generated. And the Mother Rukmini is saying, this is a personal experience. Just by hearing about you, everything's gone. I have no worries. Right? I have no worries. Now we may think such a lofty idea. How is it possible by hearing? This may be for fairy tales. For a 1-year-old or for a first grade child, integration, differentiation, this high grade calculus may seem like negative numbers. If you tell a first grade child, you know numbers? Yes, 1, 2, 3. Say, oh no, this -1, -2, -3. He said, joking. How can the -1, -2, -3? It's not possible. You're not studying properly. But we know there exists -1, -2, -3. For that child, it may sound lofty or imaginary. How can such something exist? But when the child studies properly, sequentially, first grade, second grade, third grade, and gradually develops their intelligence, then the child reach that point, you can, oh yes, it makes sense. -1, -2, -3. So we are at that position. It may seem very lofty or imaginary. How is it possible just by hearing? It's not possible. But it's possible. Just because we have not experienced it, it doesn't make it impossible. If you think like that, then we are arrogant. Just because I can't experience it, that means it doesn't exist. That's very arrogant. Right? That's arrogance at its full extent. Right? So we have to trust the process. And the process is not made by us, not by anyone sitting here. What is made by Krishna himself. He is saying. How is he saying? In the Bhagavad Gita also, he says, what is the effect of hearing? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what is the effect of hearing? In two places, he very specifically mentions 7.1 and 18.71. 7.1, Krishna says, what is the effect of hearing? Mai asakta mana partha yogam yunjam mad ashraya asamshayam samagram me jag jnasasi tat shnu. What happens by hearing first? We get knowledge. Right? We get knowledge. And because we get knowledge, what happens? Asamshayam samagram. The doubts are all eradicated. Right? And then what happens? Mai asakta mana partha yogam yunjam mad ashraya. Right? To when all the doubts get removed, what happens? You are fixed in the process. Yogam yunjam. You're fixed in the process. And what happens when you are fixed in the process? Mai asakta mana partha. Then our mind becomes attached to Krishna. Become attracted to Krishna. Different says, so what Krishna is telling, we're delineating very nicely what is the effect of hearing in 7.1 itself. The end result is attraction towards Krishna. Our mind becomes attached towards Krishna. And 18.71, Krishna says, how should one hear? Shraddha and without asuya. It should be with faith and without enviousness. When we hear in this particular way, we get the result of Mai asakta mana partha. Our mind becomes attached towards Krishna. So the requirements are given in 18.71, and the process is given, the sequence is given in 7.1 about hearing. This is not this Krishna himself saying in Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in Bhagavatam also at many places, right? So what is the first effect? Hearing about Krishna leads to attraction towards Krishna. That's the first effect. The second effect, repeated hearing not only leads to attraction, but also desire to serve. Bhakti is evoked in the heart just by hearing about Krishna. Right? So the most the wonderful example is Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj, if you know the past time, I'll give you a brief description. Hiranyakashipu went to perform austerities to gain powers, mystic, siddhis, right? And in the meantime, what happened? Kayadu, his wife, was alone in the palace, and she was bearing a child. Devatas, right? They thought this Hiranyakashipu is the biggest terrorist in the world, in the universe. What about his child? He's going to learn from his father and give him even bigger terrorist. Let's nip the bud, right? Let's kill the mother and child. And Narad Muni came at that time. I said, you are not to hurt the child or the mother. This child in the womb is a very pure devotee of Krishna. They are not to kill the child, neither the mother. Leave them. I will take care of them. He took them to his ashram. And what did he do? He started speaking about Krishna. He started speaking glories of Krishna, the pastimes, name, fame, qualities, everything about Krishna. So the mother, Kayadu, was kind of, so 1 year, living the other year. She was not very interested. But Prahlad Maharaj was hearing very nicely. So we see, right, when the child is in the womb, we read so many things to the child in the womb because they can assimilate, they can hear, right? She started speaking so many wonderful things about Krishna, glories. And Prahlad Maharaj was very attentively hearing. And what is the effect? When he was 5 years old, Lord Narasimhadev came and he performed an open heart surgery. The surgery was successful. The patient died. Right? The patient died, but surgery was successful. So when Narasimhadev, after killed Hiranyakashipu, was angry, he was roaring, and the entire 3 worlds were trembling. And now, the demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Indra, Chandra, everyone were there and were thinking how to pacify the Lord. He is extremely ferocious. He wants blood, in sense, right? He put the intestines around his neck. This beautiful description in Bhagavatam. His mane was soaked in blood. He was extremely angry. Why? Because that person tried to kill my pure devotee, Prahlad. If one tries to hurt Krishna himself, Krishna will still forgive. But if one tries to cause hurt to devotee of Krishna, Krishna never tolerates that. Zero tolerance policy. Absolute zero tolerance policy by Krishna. I will not leave anyone who tries to mess with my devotees. Krishna doesn't tolerate that. You do to me, that's fine. I'll tolerate. Not to my devotees. He was extremely angry. And so what happened? All the demigods are thinking what to do. And suddenly everyone turned their face toward Brahma. Have you ever had the been in a position where you're thinking something and you are the cause of something, and that creates a problem, and everyone's looking at you. You caused the problem. You gave the validation to Hiranyakashipu. Right? So everyone's looking at Brahma. You do something. You do something right now. And whenever someone looks at you, and if you don't want to make eye contact, what do? You avert your gaze, right? But no, Brahma has a problem. He moved his head like this, other is looking at him. He moved like this, other is looking at him. So anywhere he looks at, he turns his head anywhere, he has 4 heads. Everyone looking at him. So he cannot avert the gaze. So he says, okay, fine. Even I admit I made a mistake. Not necessarily just rebukes him later, but even I can't do anything. The only person who can do anything is Prahlad. Prahlad, please go. 5-year-old boy. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva could not do anything. Even the consort of Lord Narasimhadev, Lakshmi Devi says, I don't know who the person is. I never seen this form of my husband. I don't know who. I'm fearful. I can't do anything. But Prahlad Maharaj, a 5-year-old boy, goes in front of Lord Narasimhadev and prostrates in front of Lord Narasimhadev. And Narasimhadev becomes instantly calm down. Right? And Prahlad Maharaj, so after Prahlad Maharaj offers beautiful prayers to Narasimhadev to calm him down. And then later, when Narasimhadev says, ask what you want. I'll give you anything you want, you ask me. What does he say? Well, it's not, I did not come here like a businessman. What about the businessman? You did something for me, right? Now I have to do something for you. I did not come here like for a business like transaction, right? I'm your servant and always be your servant. Right? So, and what does he say? He says a very beautiful verse. He says, Soham katham nu visraje tava bhritya sevam. He says, the only reason, if you see any good qualities in me, if at all you see any good qualities in me, is only because of one person, my spiritual master, Narad Muni. And my first duty is to serve him. How can I leave him? How can I leave his service? So, Lord Narasimha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is saying, you can offer direct service to me. But why Prahlad Maharaj is saying, I don't want your service directly, my Lord. I want to serve your devotee. So we know Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Das Dasanudas. That is the mood a devotee should develop. We should not desire to serve the Lord directly. We should develop the desire to serve the devotees of the devotees of the devotees of the devotees of the Lord. Remember we talked about when you serve devotees of the Lord, who becomes happy? Krishna becomes happy. So more we serve the devotees of the devotees of the Lord, Krishna becomes more and more and more happy. This is exemplified by Prahlad Maharaj himself. I don't want service of you directly, my Lord. I want service of Bhritya Sevam. What is Bhritya? Servant. Sevam. I want the service. I want to serve Narad Muni because he is your servant. I want your service. Right? So what caused this kind of transformation in Prahlad Maharaj's heart? Just by hearing about Krishna from Narad Muni. Just by hearing about Krishna from Narad Muni, bhakti evoked within his heart. And that bhakti is caused for him to pacify the most ferocious personality in the whole 3 worlds. He was come down. Because Krishna becomes Bhritya Vashyata, he comes under the control of his devotees. Right? So just by hearing, bhakti can be evoked within our heart. You don't have to exchange any yogic pose like this, put a straighter back, half high, eyes half closed, concentrate your mind in the eyebrows, breathe through one nose, one nostril, breathe out the other nostril, sit in perfect position. Not at all required. First of all, it's impractical in this current times anyway. Then just hear about me. That's enough. Bhakti can be evoked within a heart. Right? That's the second effect. First, attraction towards Krishna. Second, bhakti is evoked within the heart. Okay. The third, we talked about a little bit on this, is cleansing. Our heart becomes cleansed. We recited one of the Mangalacharan prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. What is it? Shanbatham Sukatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanam Hridantastohi Abhadrani Vidunoti Surasadam. Abhadrani means unwanted. Vidunoti means cleansed. Shanbatham Sukatha Krishna. Just by hearing what happens, Abhadrani. Bhadra means auspicious. Abhadra means inauspicious. Abhadrani Vidunoti becomes cleansed. Just by hearing about Krishna, our hearts become cleansed. Right? And what happens? And how should we hear? In offenseless way. We don't talk about without being envious and faithful. But if we don't do that, then we are not doing offenseless hearing. We should not think, oh Krishna, I can also be, I wish I could be Krishna. He's enjoying everything. Why should he enjoy everything? I also want to become enjoyer. I also want to become the enjoyer. When that offensive mentality comes, then you're like, you want to light a fire, but putting water on it. How do you light a fire? Trying to put water on it, it won't light, right? We're trying to do something, but doing the opposite thing, it won't happen, right? So you have to hear in an offenseless way, right? So when he sees that a devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord, and thus becomes eager to hear about the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. The Lord is there in the heart as Paramatma, right? Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So when we show our eagerness to hear about Krishna, Krishna says, oh, okay, this person is sincerely showing his eagerness to hear about me. I will help him. Now, Krishna may not come out like, Narad Muni. Narad Muni saw Paramatma directly in front of him. Now, the Lord may not come directly in front of us and say, okay, my dear child, and do this. He will not give the instructions or help directly. He may not come face to face with us. Because he sits in the heart of every living being, he directs other living entities to help us. For example, let's say you want to hear about Krishna. Where should I hear? Where should I hear? I want to hear about God. How should I hear? Where do I go? Walking on the street, Krishna and Paramatma in the heart, then he make one devotee come. Hey Krishna, this Bhagavad Gita for you. Would you like to have Bhagavad Gita? He said, I wanted this exact thing. And so many of us have experienced, our devotees have given the testimony. Wonderful things happened. I have desired sincerely, I want to hear about Krishna, about God. And suddenly what happened? Hare Krishna, devotees start chanting Hare Krishna on the other side of the road. Hey, hey God, this is exactly what I wanted. So Krishna fulfills the sincere eagerness of a devotee. So there should be what? Sincerity in attempt and purity in intent. We should be pure in our intent and sincere in attempt. When these two come together, Krishna says, okay, I will help you now. And then he sends one of the representatives to give us his message, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna book, anything. Whereby we can connect. Okay, now I'm giving the opportunity to hear about me. Now what you do now depends on you. Krishna doesn't infringe upon our free will. He gives us the options, but we have to choose. Okay? So, cleansing of the heart happens when we hear about Krishna. Right? Now, Okay, the fourth, we have 3 minutes. I'll just come to the fourth and fifth. When you hear about Krishna, our duty becomes clear. There's a clarity in what should we do. And the best example of this is Arjun. Arjun at the starting of Bhagavad Gita, what he was like, I can't do this. Nope. He gives for it, I can't do this. Gandhi was in my heart. Gandhi was falling from my hand. He was so attached to Gandiva. Yudhishthira Maharaj once said, if you don't do this something, I'll take Gandiva from you. And what did he say? If you try to take Gandiva from my hand, I will kill you. That's how much he loved Gandiva. He could not let it go of his hand. And that he said, Gandiva is falling from my hand. Nope, I can't fight. Govinda, I cannot fight. That was his start, Bhagavad Gita. And what happened when he heard about Krishna from Krishna himself? Nashto moha smritir labdha tat prasadam maya achyuta. Nashto moha, all the illusions have gone. I remember everything now. Because of whom? Tat prasadam maya achyuta. Achyuta, because of your mercy. He did not go there and do tapasya. He just heard question, answer, question, answer. He heard with faithfully and without enviousness. What happened? Karishye vachanam tava, O Krishna, I will do what you say. Duty become clear? What should I do? How should I do it? This is a transformation. Gita what was starting, mentality or emotion, mood of Arjuna? Nope. And he sat down in the chariot. At the end of Bhagavad Gita, got up from chariot, took his bow. That is a transformation by hearing. So duty becomes clear because we know what is the basis of our decision. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktiruttamam. What is favorable to Krishna, that we should do. That is a duty. Okay, so that's, we have 1 more minute, I'll just finish it. And what is the final effect? Perfection. Going back to Godhead. And who exemplifies that? None other than Parikshit Maharaj. He exemplified the process of hearing. At the end, Sita Chandra Bhagwan ki jai, Nasri Bhagwan ki jai, Vindadevi ki jai. And by hearing what happened, then he went back to Godhead at the end of his life. He heard for 7 days, 7 nights, without eating, without drinking, constant hearing. And at the end, attained perfection. Right? So these 5 effects of bhakti which I mentioned today, A, B, C, D, E. Attraction towards Krishna, bhakti is evoked, cleansing of the heart, duty is clear, and end result is perfection. 5 effects of hearing. Of course, there's more effects we can, but it's 5 for today. So thank you so much. Please forgive me if I made any mistakes. If at all anything good came out of this mouth, it's all the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and my Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Please to correct me if I made any mistakes. Hare Krishna. Dashan Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's attend the Aarti ceremony of our wonderful lordships. Hare Krishna.
Let's go inside the last stuff.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Can I request for you to come forward a little bit? Other people can come into more space. Keep whatever separation you feel comfortable with. You can go away the future. So, welcome all for our Sunday feast program. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. So welcome to your Santos Borough. How many of you are here for the first time? Question. Can you introduce yourself? We like to just find out who you are, where you came from, what brought you here. What's your name? You're here with family. Where is your family? What brought you here? Just some invitation. Yes. Are you liking your Oregon so far? It's okay. Thank you. Who else came here for the first time? Yes.
I'm Libby, I'm from Tucson, and I'm here with my sister, Krishna. Krishna is a devotee who was one of Prabhupada's very first initiates, and she is here to sing some friends of hers. We're very, very happy.
You have friends here?
Krishna?
Oh, welcome.
Yeah, I'm a sister. I'm here from
First time I ever visited Prabhupada was in Portland, Oregon in 1971. So I'm here commemorating my
Where do you live now?
for almost every other problem. Huge community.
Yes, we have the devotees who just moved back. So you have some nice
Yes.
Vedavati Mataji here.
Yeah, and I came to visit actually Dharma Leela and
Yes.
yeah, they're friends. People that. So we're visiting them.
Thank you. And you're from Tucson. So Srila Mataji is sitting next to you. One of you is moving to Tucson. So you can have some connection with Krishna. So anyone else for the very first time? Oh, yes. Want to introduce yourself?
My name is Sophia. I'm from Vancouver.
Thomas. And what first time you is from people. So a lot of things that are kind of probably unfamiliar and unclear. So just you can ask about these. No question that's okay. And just be comfortable with the sitting chair. Thank you very much. And then I think Mataji, you were with Madhavendra Prabhu's mother, I believe. So Hare Krishna, all the way from California. So let's welcome all these wonderful three devotees with a loud Hare Go. Hare Go. Hare Go. Hare Go. And so for Sadhana, use this clock is obviously, I was not stopped. So we will start sorting. There's Prasada to go, and we'll bring it over here at around 1:30. Okay? When we leave out, we'll have a treatment program. Larry devotees here, so please participate. Okay? Hare Krishna. Nice to see you. And who else? Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I haven't seen you in a little while. Everything still going well? And your doctor is, I think usually your doctor is sick. Hare Krishna. Are you graduated? You graduated? Congratulations. Are you going to stay local or far away? LA. Wow. That's going to be hard for you there. When did you start in fall? So which school are you going to? Congratulations on your, I'm sure your parents very proud of your sincere efforts in school. So let's thank them for also sponsoring Sunday Feast with a loud Haribol. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Thank you. Did I miss somebody else? No, I was just saying, the family members. Okay, wonderful. So we'll have Kirtan and sorry to say, what I suggested. It's okay now. So I know how that word is violin, and I see that she's heard the word is guitar. So William Burger is always here to chat. So if you don't know, some of the youth are doing Guru Puja every Sunday at 7 in the morning, and they do it virtually. So you can join us. Because of school. Yeah. Arizona State, right? So William has been came up with the idea along with others of January that we use and get them, everybody's spread out and they've been very generally doing Guru Puja every Sunday before the class. So he's going to establish they're going to Arizona State for the second year, right? That's the second year now. Yeah. Okay. So that should go on campus. Okay, so we'll have Kirtan. So, want to come? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,